must we do to make black organizations truly ours and black leaders free enough to lead us? Because if the leaders are not free, they certainly cannot lead you to liberation. And I respectfully suggest that no black leader today that has national prominence, with the exception of myself, is really free to talk to you like real men and to lead you in a proper direction. None of them are free.
Are black organizations really our own? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Evans Trailer. Guys, on today's video, we want to do this video by Louis Farrakhan speaking about if really are black organizations our own, because he believes that black people are being controlled by external forces. You know, he believes that black people do not stand by themselves. The black organizations are actually owned by external folks. So family, Louis Farrakhan is a leader of the Nation of Islam. He has often questions the autonomy and authenticity of black organizations, particularly in the context of external influences. Farrakhan's perspective is rooted in the idea that many black organizations are heavily influenced or controlled by external forces such as government institutions, corporations, and philanthropic foundations, which might limit their ability to act in the best interest of the black community. So family, I want you to hear this speech by Louis Farrakhan as he spoke on whether black organizations are really our own as black folks. Once the video is done, we'll get back and do a critical analysis of the same. Let's watch this, guys.
Are black organizations really our own? Are black organizations really our own? America is not apparently ready for a free thinking, free acting black man or woman. America and those in positions of power seem to like us most when we are more responsive and responsible to them than we are to the needs, hopes, and aspirations of our own people. You, as college students and as intelligent black men and women, must understand that those in power are very afraid to see us move in a free direction. And so those in power and those behind the scenes will do everything they can to thwart the direction of those who want to chart a truly independent course that will lead to the ultimate total liberation of all of our people, not only here in America, but in the Caribbean and throughout the world. And so tonight, I wanted to talk to you about why it is necessary for us to rethink our direction and rethink how we can truly make black organizations our own. Yes, sir. Yeah. Just this past week, we learned that the most respected and revered civil rights organization, the NAACP, saw fit to oust the Reverend Ben Chavis. Some agreed with that decision, others did not. The question is whether the Reverend Ben Chavis charted a proper direction for the organization. I will leave the right or wrong of the arrangement that was made with Mary Stansel to the internal mechanisms of the NAACP. But the direction of the Reverend Ben Chavis, we must assess it. And is the fact that the $64,000 and the $333,000 arrangement that the Reverend made through the lawyers of this woman, was that really why he was ousted? Or was there a deeper hidden agenda involved? Now, personally, I owe a debt of gratitude to the NAACP. And every one of us in this room, whether we are members of the NAACP or not, owe a debt of gratitude to this organization. Because without this organization, and what this organization with other civil rights organizations did, we would not have the measure of freedom, and I put that in quotes, that we have today. I grew into consciousness from the reading of the Crisis magazine when I was a little boy, reading the writings of W.E.B. Du Bois, who at that time was a member of the NAACP. W.E.B. Du Bois will go down in history as one of the greatest thinkers that has come from among us. But he too was ousted from the NAACP, even though he was a founding member. Now, why? Are black organizations really ours? And if they're not, what must we do to make black organizations truly ours and black leaders free enough to lead us? Because if the leaders are not free, they certainly cannot lead you to liberation. And I respectfully suggest that no black leader today that has national prominence, with the exception of myself, is really free to talk to you like real men and to lead you in a proper direction. None of them are free. Brilliance is not freedom. Eloquence is not freedom. The ability to speak to the hurt of your people without looking over your shoulder, wondering whether the former slave master is approving what you say. That is to be free. And I stand before you tonight a free black man who has not to worry about what anybody thinks about what I say. This is why Farrakhan has a level of popularity that no other black leader enjoys. It's not because I'm better, it's because I'm freer to speak the truth. And that's exactly what our people need, is more truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. But if your leaders are afraid to speak the truth because somebody may pull a plug on them, if our preachers are afraid to preach the truth for fear of downtown putting pressure on them, then these are unfit leaders that must be exposed and pushed aside. Now, what was Dr. Chavis's crime? Since the founding members of the NAACP were black and white, Jewish and Gentile, Christian and Jewish, there was in the beginning an idea of a multi-racial unity to work for the benefit of people of color. Not people of color that have college degrees alone. Not people of color of scholarship. Not a middle class elite group. But it didn't say that. It said a national association for the advancement of people of color. Not some, but all. Is that correct? However, in the original charter, there was no mention of economic development for black people. And without economic development, social freedom only leads you to spend your money where other people benefit and you may or may not. Now, when I went to school here in North Carolina, yes, I came to North Carolina with a purpose in mind. I wanted to experience what my brothers and sisters in the South had experienced all their lives, since I grew up in Boston and segregation was subtle. I wanted to go where it wasn't subtle. So I came here, and it was not subtle, brother. And in North Carolina is where I decided that I was going to be a Muslim. I wasn't interested in changing my religion from Christianity to Islam. I grew up in the church. I loved the church. But the church was not addressing the needs of liberation at that time. So when I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X, I knew it was only a matter of time before I would make a decision to join them. And in order to join them, I had to change my religion. So when I changed my religion, I became a Muslim, grew up as a Christian. Well, all of a sudden now, I became interested totally in the liberation of our people. But I saw in education a sickness that our black colleges and universities, like our black organizations, are controlled from outside. Even though you pay your money to get an education, the curriculum is designed by people who design a curriculum not to make you free, but to make you fit in a system that is diametrically opposed to your freedom. from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I looked at black colleges because I was a member of one. And I saw the sickness in the colleges, the moral lapse in the professors that would have sex with the young girls to give them passing grades that they may go out and teach our children what they were not truly qualified to teach. This was before the decision in 1954 to integrate the schools. But in the 60s, these colleges became the hotbed of black dissatisfaction, dissent, and revolution. So now, white folk who wanted us not in their schools, that's why these schools were set up. Now all of a sudden want to break up these schools because too much black thought is coming out of the black college and university system. Somehow, a disease has gotten into the college system. A virus has gotten into the computer that makes them not able to compute what you're going to be like after 4 years here. Because there's new thinking now generating on the college campuses. And that new thinking is to break free and to do constructive things for the advancement of our people. Black organizations were set up to advance us socially, to break down social barriers, not political barriers, not economic barriers, but social barriers. However, black folk got interested in politics. Then we started seeing black mayors, black state senators, blacks on city councils throughout America, black sheriffs, but we still weren't free. Now, we always have been in the church ever since white folks said it was not incompatible for us to be slaves and Christians. That's not what Jesus said. That's what white folks said. I'm going to say it again. I don't want you to be angry with me. But white folks who claim that God is love and Jesus paid a price for our redemption, these same folk held us in slavery. And then when they made us Christians, they would not allow us to worship with them. Let's talk a minute. We worship in the field. And the field hands that worship out of the field hand religion came the black church experience. You wanted to be First Baptist? But they didn't want you as a First Baptist, so you became Second Baptist, Third Baptist, Shiloh Baptist, Mount Calvary Baptist, because you knew you were being crucified all along the road. You wanted to be a Methodist with the white Methodists, but they didn't want you. They were Christians. They said God is love, but that love never extended to black folk, Native Americans, Hispanics. So you had to leave the Methodist church and form the African Methodist Episcopal Church. got accepted, became Unitarians. Some became Lutherans. Bless your hearts. And there you were washed white as snow. So your God was white, your heaven was white, your Jesus was white, your angels was white, and you were black, still trying to fit in. And haven't quite made it yet. Now I notice, I could be wrong, but I notice that even though we tried to integrate the schools, which are more segregated today than they were when Dr. King was here, but Reverend, you have never tried to integrate the church. You still the pastor of a black church. Talk to me. You may have one or two whites in there singing in the choir, hitting the tambourine off beat.
Family, there is one thing that I know is constant on earth. The thing is that the white folk, or rather the white supremacist, has never been ready for a black folk who's free rather when it comes to thinking. You know, they do not want a black folk to think and act. They do not want us to be in control of any sphere of life. You know, they want us to be always their subjects while them becoming our leaders. You know, Louis Farrakhan starts his speech saying that America is not ready for a free-thinking black man and woman. Who's America in this case? The leadership of the US. You know, and which is totally known to be influenced by white supremacists, the topmost guys, you know, the white folk who does not want the black American man and woman to think straight. You know, they do not want to give us the freedom for us to be able, you know, to think freely in the US. America and those in positions of power seem to like us more when we are more responsible to them than we are for our own people. That's why our black organizations are not doing their work, because they ensure that constantly they come in between. It could be through monetary value. You know, many a times we've seen people, you know, lose their focus because of money. We've seen black pastors who are afraid to talk about racism, to talk about any rot in the black church, because they are afraid that their white congregants, you know, or rather their rich congregants would leave their churches and they would not be able to find good money from them, you know, as paid as how is it called in the church? There's this money people give out in the church, you know. I just forgotten the word. The 10% of the earnings. Some of these pastors were actually afraid that now when the white folks come outside of their church, they may not be able to get that. You know, at times we relate a lot of things to money. Those in power are afraid to see us move in a free direction. The biggest fear of somebody in power is their citizen having knowledge, being free. You know, they want to constantly put them in a position of slavery. And they'll do everything they can to stop black people who are fighting for the liberation of other black people throughout the world. This thing is constant all over the world. They want to stop any black person, you know, who's trying to fight for the liberation of black people. That's why they've gotten into black organization. You know, you could find black organizations outside there. Look at organizations like the 100 Black Men of America, the National Bank Association of Black Men, National Association of Black Accountants, and all these associations. Many a times you find them that they have people who actually support them through monetary ways and try to limit, you know, the initial ideas that these organizations really had. If organizations were built to empower other black people, then now these people come in and destroy the original idea. How do they do that? By coming up with agendas that now will stop people from going this way and taking a totally different direction. That has always been the work of the supremacist who does not want for the black man to thrive in America. We should actually rethink our direction and how we can make black organizations our own. What are some of these ways that we can make these organizations our own? We should rethink it. Is it that now we should make it difficult for external forces to come in between us? How can we be able to do this? What can we do to own this organization truly ours and make black leaders free enough to lead us? Most of the black leaders are not free enough. When you come even in Africa, we have black presidents, we are black people, but still the leaders are not free. They are puppets of the West. Many a times you look at their decisions and you wonder, are our leaders really free? The same to black organizations. You see our leaders acting in ways that you wonder, how is it possible that we voted for them to lead us? If they are not doing things straight. The only problem of the black leader is that we are not free to lead. And that's why Louis Farrakhan says that most people hate him, because he speaks the truth. He's free. He does not care what external forces will think about his teachings. That is what we've lacked as black people. We do not have black leaders who are free enough to lead us. If the leaders are not free, they certainly cannot lead you to liberation. The ability to speak to your people without looking over your shoulder, wondering if the former slave master is approving what you say, that is freedom, man. It's time that we have that freedom. A freedom to speak freely, a freedom to guide black folks on the right direction without having to think about the former slave masters. That's the direction that black folks should be heading into, rather than saying something and you're looking on the back, like you're being blackmailed with something, like somebody had called you and told you if you do not do things the way he or she wants, then now you'll be able to lose your kids or you lose your wife. People are not free. I'd relate it to that same feeling that I just mentioned. Louis Farrakhan says, I am a free black man who doesn't worry about what anybody thinks about what I say. So family, I went further and did more research in regards to this same issue. And Farrakhan critics often center on the following points. Point number 1 is the funding and influence. He has suggested that many black organizations rely on funding from sources that may have hidden agendas or do not prioritize empowerment of the black community. This dependence can compromise their independence. Fam, that is what I said. You may get grants from people who actually do not need to support you. They have hidden agendas. They have ideologies that they are trying to push in between, just for you guys to lose focus. How would somebody who has never supported you before bring you monetary funds and just push their own agendas? They have hidden agendas and do not prioritize the empowerment of black folks in any way. How do you just bring them closer and get to feel comfortable them supporting you? They always have an hidden agenda, and that's how they repay themselves after investing into you. They have a goal that they must achieve. Number 2 is leadership and accountability. Farrakhan has questioned whether the leadership of some organization truly represents the interests of grassroots black communities, or if they are more aligned with interests of external benefactors. Some of these organizations have external beneficiaries. We are lied to and told, this is a black organization, but in real sense, the leaders that we chose to lead us in these organizations are actually puppets of external forces. And for people who are in this organization, they actually even do not know, but their leaders sometimes actually do know. Number one, we say it is the funding and the influence. That's where we get it wrong. Then the leadership and accountability. It's time that we make leaders of these black organizations to be accountable of their offices. Then number three is the cultural and ideological authenticity. He has argued that some organizations may adopt frameworks or policies that reflect the values and priorities of those outside the black community, rather than being rooted in the unique cultural, spiritual, and social needs of black people. You know, we should ensure that their cultural and ideological authenticity, others will be lied to. Then number four is the divide and conquer tactics. Farrakhan has often warned about the deliberate efforts to create division among black organizations to weaken collective progress, a tactic he attributes to systemic racism and white supremacy. You know, the white supremacists has always knew since time immemorial how to handle black folks using the divide and rule way. Even the time of slavery, the time of colonization in Africa, they did the same thing. You know, they want to try and make black folk fight against each other. Then now they are the beneficiaries. I'd want to end up by saying this. Well, these critiques resonate with many. Others argue that diverse funding and alliances are necessary for the survival and growth of organizations in a resource-limited environment. Additionally, not all black organizations may fit the mold Farrakhan critiques, as many operate with grassroots funding and leadership deeply embedded in their communities. Family, thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly do consider subscribing to my channel for amazing content in regards to the black history. Luz Farrakhan handled this topic so well, and I'd really be happy if more people may come to talk about these same topics for us to be enlightened as a people. We black folk actually are very important people, and it's time that we stop feeling, we stop being lied to that we are less, you know, that we cannot be unified. It's time that we come together as a race and just be able to be empowered, enlightened, and push the correct ideologies. And according to this video, we should actually endeavor to have black communities that we black folk actually own. Thank you guys. Kindly do consider subscribing to my channel for amazing content, guys. And guys, last but not least, like this video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users. Goodbye for now, and see you all in my next episode. Goodbye.